In this video, we're going to take a look at an example of the chain rule. The function that we have is f of x equals e to the negative x squared, and we want to take the derivative of that. So it's an exponential function. Step number one, right, is to identify this problem as a chain rule problem. So, for the exponential functions, sometimes it's a little bit tricky for people. The main thing to remember is that the exponent is usually the inside part for these problems. So in this one, for instance, if we had just e to the x, if we just had x up here instead of minus x squared, then the derivative would just be e to the x, and we wouldn't have to use the chain rule at all. But up here in the exponent is more complicated than just x. So it is a chain rule problem. Once you know that you've got a chain rule problem, then what you need to do is to identify the inside part and the outside part. So the inside part here is the exponent, minus x squared. And the outside part is what we would get if we popped out that inside, the exponent, and replaced it with just an x. So if we did that on this function, we would wind up with e to the x. Okay, so just take a look at this for a second. If I took and I plugged in minus x squared in for x here, in other words, just replace that x with minus x squared, I would get exactly this function here. So this function f is the composition of these two functions right here. Okay. All right, so once you know that you have the inside part and the outside part, you just need to run through the 3 steps of the chain rule. Step number 1, take the derivative of the outside function. Well, here the outside function is e to the x, right? And what is the derivative of e to the x? It is just e to the x. Okay, so, and you'll notice here that I didn't actually write the x, right? I just kind of left a space in there, right? And the reason why I left the space was because, well, that's step 2 of the chain rule. Step 2 of the chain rule says leave the inside part alone. In other words, everywhere there would be an x in the derivative of the outside function, namely right here in these parentheses, right, I would put the inside part. So I just kind of left that alone and put the inside part there. Okay, so if you take a look at what happens with these exponential functions, and I have a function up here in the chain rule, really the first 2 steps of the chain rule just kind of amount to just rewriting the function that you have. So it's pretty straightforward once you get used to the fact that the inside part is actually the exponent. All right, next up we want to do the 3rd step of the chain rule, and that is to multiply by the derivative of the inside part. So if I take the derivative of minus x squared, I get minus 2x. Okay. All right, and so then just usually write that negative 2x out in front. Okay, and that's it for the chain rule on this problem.